Hello, this is Paul Mackay from Analogue Wonderland. Welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to be doing something fun. It's Film Washi, which means already it's going to be interesting. This is sound recording film. So what on earth is that all about? A sound recording device being used to capture images in your camera. We'll get into that and much more in this video. Whether you are new to film photography or a long-time analog enthusiast, our channel covers all things film, from tips and tricks, film reviews to how-to videos. Subscribe now and keep those notifications turned on so that you never miss a beat. Happy shooting! So I'm sure you've been drawn in by the headline, sound recording film, Washi S meaning in this case sound, and ISO 50. So, as always with Film Washi, there is a brilliant story behind it. So, Film Washi are a very small manufacturer of films based in France, run by a wonderful chap called Lomig, and he has a few suppliers around the world who provide him with various crazy emulsions, and then some he makes himself and coats onto paper and other such delights. The background to this is one of his suppliers got in contact with him saying, look, supplies lots of movie type films, but they'd found a pancake of film, the pancake being the really big reels, they're called pancake because the dimensions are very fat, but they're huge, much bigger than a normal pancake, of sound recording film. Now what this means, this is used as copy film, traditionally in movies, in order to record soundtrack that would then be printed onto the edge of movie negatives. It would be read by an optical reader and converted back into sound. So, you know, think the way that cassette tapes would use magnetism, vinyl uses bumps, CDs use binary ons and offs. It's that kind of thing, but recorded on the edge of a film. So of course, you're thinking straight away, this got to be high contrast and really fine grain, because you can't have any noise, can't have any noise in the signal that will then be picked up when it's converted back to sound. And that is what you will see. So the one thing you'll see consistently in all the reviews is expect contrast. There is no grey area. There is black or white. But it's more fun than that. Because it's never been designed to be shot in a 35mm camera, there was no real indication of what ISO made sense or the sensitivity across the spectrum, because those kind of things weren't important when you're recording sound for playback later. So Lomig had to do a load of experimenting, and what he did was he shot in a load of situations, developed it in the dark, but using his homemade infrared goggles, which I've seen are super steampunk, by the way, in order to understand at what point the chemistry was developing the film. And his findings were, first of all, that it's ISO 50, that makes sense to shoot, but also that it's sort of panchromatic. By sort of, what we mean is, so again, quick recap of panchromatic. Panchromatic means that the film sees all light equally across the colour spectrum, so reds show up, blues show up, greens show up, everything shows up, and if it's at the same intensity, the film says, yes, this is converted into white at the same rate. Orthochromatic doesn't see red, so like Ortho 80, for example, from Ilford. This sits somewhere in between. So it is less sensitive to red. So things like skies might be more easily blown out, because if you're exposing for a landscape, it's slightly more sensitive to blue than to red. But this isn't orthochromatic. You can't develop this under safe light. For example, the red will still blow it out, unlike Ortho 80, which can be happily developed under red light, and the film just doesn't even see it. So it's sort of panchromatic. That won't affect the way you shoot it too much. I think the big thing is being aware that blue will be picked up a bit stronger, so if you have a scene with lots of blue, like a sky, or like a blue light or blue neon or something like that, it's likely to jump out in the photo or blow out the highlights more than anything else. But apart from that, you can treat it like a normal panchromatic film. The other slightly strange thing about it is that the anti-halation layer, so most films, with the exception of Cinestill, and you can see the Cinestill reviews as to why this would be, have an anti-halation layer at the back of the film. And what that does is when light comes through and hits the emulsion, a small amount passes through the plastic and then could bounce around the camera and cause shadowing or halation, which you see on Cinestill because they don't have that layer. Most films have it at the back. This film has it between the emulsion layers. Frankly, this doesn't actually affect the look of the film. It still absorbs the excess light. It does give a slightly different look around really bright light,
but it's also, frankly, just a little piece of trivia for you to know as you go around shooting and you want to explain to someone all the fun quirks of Washi S in particular. Other things that make it slightly interesting is you will see that it has a lovely, pretty purple colour to the plastic versus the usual type of plastic you'll see in black and white, which means that if you're scanning it, especially with a scanner that sees all colours, you'll have to make sure that you're correcting for the right shades. Very lovely, pretty purple colour. And then the other thing to think about is, because it was designed for this very specific thing, a certain kind of light would be shone on to copy it, be red optical sensor. One, very fine detail, incredibly contrasty because it's trying to get towards that sort of binary on or off. Effectively, it's white or black. And the second thing is it's not designed for pushing or pulling. It was never expected to be shot under a wide range of sensitivity of lights. It was either going to be used with this copy light or not at all. So I wouldn't recommend moving it really. I mean, ISO 100 should be okay, but anything other than that, you're going to lose a load of the detail almost straight away. That's because it doesn't have very much silver in it. And silver is generally what gives films the latitude and allows it to experience light in different ways. This film wasn't designed for that, so it doesn't have it. But it should make it a really fun and very different look. And that's what a lot of the reviews say. People talk about the fact that there's no grey area. It's black or it's white. Very, very strong contrast, but incredible detail. People talk about the fact that when they see the negative under a loupe, it looks good. But then when they scan it on high resolution, the detail that's actually inside the film that they hadn't picked up before is even more mind-blowing than they thought. That's because of this super fine detail. The same for printing. You can enlarge this to a much greater extent than you might expect for 35mm and still get great results. And people talk about the fact that it genuinely has a very unique look, driven by that super high contrast. ISO 50 means that you won't be able to shoot it without the right amount of light, especially because it's not particularly good for pushing pulling. If you're a Wonderbox subscriber, this is the offset, shall we say, to the fact that I gave you a 3200 film in the same box. This is the other end of the scale, but hopefully you can find either a lovely sunny day or make use of some artificial lights, some nice studio lights or a lamp or a window on a sunny day if you're going to shoot some portraits or things to create some really interesting looks. I mean, the other thing to really enjoy with this, I think, would be sort of architectural street photography. So finding buildings or bridges or staircases with very strong lines. And if you go out sort of in the middle of the day with decent sunlight, you should get some really sharp, clean shadows that this film will then obviously go black or white, no greys, no messing around. Really fun, really interesting. A truly unique film, both in terms of its origin story, but also its results. Have a wonderful time with it. Please let me know how you get on with it, and I'll see you again soon.